I spent 4 years of my life in college trying to get a finance degree, and I really didn't need to. At least not if I wanted to be a trader or an investor. See, at the end of the day, a degree, it's just a piece of paper, right? You can fold it, you can move it, you can do whatever. And at the end of the day, like learning how to trade and invest, it really only takes three things. I know that sounds crazy, right? You probably don't believe me. But the thing is, if you're like most people, you probably don't actually know what the stock market's about, what it actually means. And the truth is, it really is. I know it's hard to believe, but it really is only three things that you need to learn to get started. And it doesn't take 4 years. It doesn't take all the costs and all the crazy expenses and all the time to go through and get a piece of paper that, means somebody else says that you know what you're doing in some area of life. So, is it okay with you if I go through the three different things that you need to learn how to get started in the stock market for yourself? Okay, so the first thing, and this is kind of crazy to think about, but like, okay, think about this. Let me ask you a question. Do you actually know what the stock market is? Like, what's it for? Why was it created? Right? Probably not. Most people don't. And if so, that's okay. Right? I didn't when I first started, but that's the first thing you need to learn. You need to learn what the stock market is. And that really involves two pieces. You need to learn one, how to think about the stock market. Because if you want to do something new, you want to change your life from where you are now to where you want to be, where you become a trader, you become an investor, all that good stuff. You need to learn how to think differently if you want to live differently, right? And then the second thing that you need to learn is like, okay, what is the stock market? What does it mean when I buy shares of stock? What does it mean when I sell shares of stock? Right? Like what was this game created for? So that's secret number one, and that's literally 1/3 of what you need to learn. Two is you need to learn how to read stock charts. So there's two big things here. One is you need to understand, okay, there's this thing called charting, right? Stocks show in price. Sometimes, right? Maybe you've seen a line graph of a chart where it just shows lines over time. There's actually this really cool thing called Japanese candlesticks that charts of stock price are usually shown in. And like if you learn how to read those, it's absolutely mind changing. It completely changes the way that you see the market, it completely changes the way you think about it. And then once you understand how to actually, you understand what the chart is, the second piece to like knowing how to read charts that you kind of need is like, how do I set up an account so that I can actually see the charts now that I know how to read them, right? So that's secret number two. That's the second thing that you need to learn if you want to get started in the stock market. And secret number three is you need to learn actually how to become an investor, which I know sounds super complicated. You're like, hey, that's the whole point. What like of course I need to learn how to do that. But what I mean is simply like when to buy and sell and like how to push the buttons. So really there's two big things in that as well. One is you want to learn how to recognize patterns, right? So in stock market, you can see history repeats itself, right? You've heard that expression, right? That's very, very common. But history really does repeat itself. And in the stock market, once you learn how to read charts, you can go, oh, like this one's going up and then down and then up and then down and then up and down, right? And you've probably heard that talked about before if you've been around stock market or investing stuff at all in your life. Is hey, things go up and things go down. But the crazy thing is, it doesn't happen just up, down, up, down, up, down in one place. It goes in a direction. So it'll start here, and then it'll go up a little bit, and then it'll go down a little bit, and then it'll go up more, down a little bit, up more, down a little bit, and you can learn basically, okay, what's the trajectory? You can learn how to read patterns, and then you can find out, okay, if it's been doing this in the past, and we think it's likely to continue doing that, let me give it a little bit of time, let it show me that it's doing that, and then I know when to buy, right? And then I know when to sell for the same reasons. So like that's super important. And then you have to learn, okay, like what buttons do I go push? Like physically in a trading account, what does it look like, or an investing account to go and actually say, hey, I want to buy this, right? And that's it. That's it. That's the three things you need to learn. And if you can learn that, right? If you can learn what the stock market is, if you can learn how to read stocks, and then if you can learn how to become an investor, right? Understand them and know when to buy and sell. That's it. That's all you need to learn. And that's crazy, right? So I don't know. It's insane for me to think about. Like, nobody knows this. It's absolutely mind boggling to me. Like, it's so simple, right? You don't have to spend 4 years in college to go get a degree in finance just so you can learn how to trade or invest. Like, the crazy thing is, my finance degree in college, they probably talked about stock market stuff for, I don't know, a grand total of four of my classes were like about the stock market, maybe four of them. And what's crazy is, even in those, like, they only talk about trading a little bit. They talk about investing a little bit, but it's very impractical. It's all theory, right? It's all here's how it kind of works. And you might look at a couple examples. You might even do an example account, which is less theory, and then it switches into practicality. But the truth is, like they go through all sorts of stuff, and then you're talking about bonds, and you're talking about all sorts of corporate stuff that like nobody cares about if all you're trying to do is learn how to trade or learn how to invest for yourself. So it's super, super cool. Hopefully that makes sense. Does that make sense? Right? Hopefully you can see how simple this is. Like it really, really is not as hard as most people think. Actually, one of actually the very, very first person that went in, and I've got a course on the stock market. It's called Stock Market Starters, right? Name of the channel. But I teach people how through going through these 3 steps, like I go into the detail of it and I teach them how to do it. But what's crazy, the very, very first person who ever went through my course, she went through and she plowed through it. She went really quick, but she went through it and in 3 days she got into her first trade. Like, oh man, it was so cool. And the crazy thing is, like, she didn't have the degree, right? She wasn't trained by the professionals to trade. She didn't know any of this stuff. All she did was she said, okay, I know that I want to learn how to do this. She went in, got the course, and started going through it. And it was, okay, step 1, what is the stock market? How does it work? Step 2, how do I read the charts? Like, what does this mean? How do I set up an account? Perfect. Step 3, how do I recognize patterns? How do I know when to buy and sell? And then, like, let's go do it. And she did, and she went in and got in. It was super, super cool. So anyway, yeah, like I say that because I don't want to like sit here and just talk about my story and say, hey, I can do this and I do that and I do this. And then you guys not understand what I'm talking about because you go, hey, it's not for me. The truth is, like, it's just 3 things. And it seems complicated. It might seem overwhelming, but the truth is, like, when you get into it, it's actually a lot more simple than most people expect. So super cool, right? Hopefully that's cool. Hopefully, I don't know. You can imagine, like, it's so cool to take something that like can be so complicated and compress it down to like step 1, and then I do 1, 2, step 2, 1, 2, like step 3, and then you just go through it and like walk through it. It's so, so cool. So hey, so hopefully this makes sense. I hope you guys are getting this. This is, I don't know, this, I love this stuff. But let me know down in the comments, message me, whatever. Let me know though, what are your top 3 things that you want to know about the stock market, right? We've talked about this, but like, there's a difference between me talking about it from my perspective and me hearing what you have to say. And I really want to hear what you have to say so that I can help answer those questions, right? So let me know, what is your top 1 concern, top 2 concern, top 3. Let me know your top 3 things that you want to know about investing or about trading or about the stock market in general. And I'll try to answer them for you. So hopefully that makes sense. Always remember, your financial future is in your hands.